gentlemen, the world's leader in motorsports presents Speed World. We're in the land of cruise ships, palm trees, and sunshine. We're in Miami, Florida for round 4 of the Exxon Supreme Series for GTO, GTU, and All-American Challenge cars. Hello again, everybody. I'm Marty Reed, and welcome to the Miami Grand Prix. Working alongside today, another member of the Racing Hobbs family. You know his father, David, from our Formula One coverage. This is Guy Hobbs. And Guy, the showdown that we've got today, Nissan on the pole. They won here last year.
They set a record-setting the pole, too, this weekend, but their big threat's going to come from right behind us, Peter Holzman, number 62 in the Mazda RX-7.
The other key element that we've all been waiting to see are the brand-new Roush Mustangs.
New single-turbo engines this weekend, plus they've got much better handling than they've had in the past, although not much practice time, but I'm sure there'll be a threat with Dorsey Schrader and Robbie Gordon.
In GTU, we expect a great showdown between the Leitzinger Nissans and then also the full-time racing machines, the Dodges, with John Fergus, who won at West Palm Beach. Plus, the All-American Challenge as we are ready to go racing at Miami. Let's take a look at the weather conditions. Our temperature is 82 degrees. The winds are from the southeast at 14. The skies are overcast. Humidity is high at 76%. And yes, we do have a 40% chance of showers. Now let's take a tour of today's course with Guy Hobbs.
Join us around this 1.9-mile, 11-turn circuit at Miami as we go through turn 1, a very tight right-hander, and turn 2, almost the same corner in second gear. A fast acceleration out along the bayside up in turn 3, which is a flat-out, no changing gear corner. As we go into turn 4, the left-hander, very important for overtaking this one. Not much grip on the way out, so slowly onto the power as they come back out into right-hander. A tight, quick fifth gear corner, and then down into third for 6, a sweeping long corner as we come out underneath the rider bridge to the left-hander 7, also a sweeper, building up to 8, which is a very important corner because coming out of 8 we lead onto Biscayne Boulevard, which is where the main straightaway is, and that's where you need all the power. Bit rough at turn 8, as you'll see as we come into turn 9, a very big bump right on the apex. Most of the drivers pretty upset with that one as they peel out towards the wall, head down Biscayne Boulevard up to about 170 miles an hour into turn 10. A very tight exit here. You'll see the tyre wall on the right, heading down now towards the 11th turn and also the pit entrance area. This one also very important as you set up to come around to take the checkered flag, hopefully. And if you're Steve Millen, you've done this lap in about 1 minute, 16 seconds. Not bad for a 2-mile circuit in Miami.
Today's race is brought to you by Exxon Gasolines. Just turn the key. By Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Yokohama Tires. Advanced technology on wheels. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll set the starting field and go for the green flag. Welcome back to the Exxon Supreme Series for GTO, GTU, and All-American Challenge cars in Miami, Florida. We're just about ready to go racing here. Let's give you a rundown on where everybody stacks up here on the starting grid. In row number 1, besides Steve Millen, our pole sitter, will be Pete Halsmer. In row number 2, Jeremy Dale. In the other Nissan, Dorsey Schrader. That is in the brand new Ford Mustang. Row 3, Price Cobb in the other Nissan. Then a big surprise, Mandy Gonzalez. We'll tell you more about him as the race progresses, as well as row 4, Luis Mendez and Adriano Abreu. Then in row 5, Robbie Gordon in the other Roush Mustang. Been having problems all weekend, but he'll get it sorted out sooner or later. David Loring, our first in GTU, as he sits on the pole there. In row 6, Phil Curran, the pole sitter in the All-American Challenge category. Then John Finger. And in row 7, Manuel Villa, Bob Leitzinger. Row 8, John Fergus, Rob Wilson. He's the former Bobber Saab champion. In row 9, we then have Anthony Puleo and Don Knowles. In row 10, Kenny Irwin Jr. and Del Russo Taylor. Row 11 will be Albert Ruiz, Henry Talib. In row 12, Eduardo Pellerano and Joe Pezza. Then row 13, Clay Young and Dick Greer. And row 14, Dan Ostenholt and Kendall Cranston. Row 15 will be Ken Bupp, Steve Blinderman. In row 16, Reef rider Clint Welding. And then in row 17, Gene Felton, yes, the same Gene Felton from years back, Jack Bachstrom, and row 18, Frank Herchik. And boy, we have got a big field here on this very tight 1.9 mile layout.
And that's one of the features that could make it particularly interesting, because once the faster GTO cars have come around and the All-American Challenge cars are beginning to get lapped, it could cause some severe traffic problems. And if history prevails, we may well see this race as a quick dash to the front in the first 15 minutes or so, as in the last years it's come down to a yellow flag situation where it's just been in parade for 45 minutes.
There in row 2, the number 6 Whistler Mustang, that is Dorsey Schrader. Now, he backed that car into the wall early in the first day of practice here. They have been working also on the turbocharger system. They're not quite sure if they've got it all sorted out. We're into turn 11, and we are getting ready to go racing as the green flag will fall as they come down the straightaway. Here we go. Start for everyone as the Nissan sandwich has been put on early with the Mazda squeezed in between. That is the 75 of our pole sitter, Steve Millen. Then the number 62
now
right behind him.
John Ferguson in 07, already in trouble. He's one of the favorites in the GTU class too, along with Don Knowles.
John Fergus was the winner back at West Palm Beach. It looks like he came in contact with something that looked like maybe the left front wheel has been bent, and he may be out of this race early, which would be a big disappointment to the full-time Dodge Racing team.
We see Robbie Gordon has moved his way up into the 8th spot at the moment, and we're going to wait and see if he can move up. There we see the cars coming down the Biscayne Boulevard, getting up to about 150, 165 miles an hour along there. And the big problem here is going to be turn 10 and 11. Well, not sorry, turn 9 and turn 10. 10 has a very tight exit with the tire wall to the right-hand side, and turn 9 a big bump which is throwing the cars off track quite easily, as much as the 2,000-pound cars weigh.
You can see the Nissan of Steve Millen, then Pete Halsmer, then Jeremy Dale, and those three starting to open up some distance to 4th place, which is Price Cobb.
Of course, Price Cobb coming down from the GTP class to run in the GTO class in a hope that he will in fact end up back in the GTP class when Mazda goes into the GTP series next year.
Now, one of the things that's interesting about the two Nissans is that they are running different size engines. Now, for example, in the number 75 car, that is the 3-liter, and then in Jeremy Dale's machine, it's a 2.75, and what the difference means is that the 3-liter car has to run 50 extra pounds. But you can see as Steve Millen, that 3-liter motor, which is basically the same power plant that they are running in the GTP program.
Now, Steve Millen and Jeremy Dale, of course, have their own private battle going on within the team. Jeremy Dale, currently running 3rd, is going to be quite determined to do better than that, as he's finished consecutively 3rd in the end of last season, and again getting off the start this year. He's got 3 thirds.
Stay with us. When we return, we will be bringing you more exciting action here at the Exxon Supreme Series for GTO, GTU, and All-American Challenge cars. Don't go away. There's your leaderboard. Marty Reed and Guy Hobbs back with you, and there are our two front runners starting to open up some distance. That is Steve Millen with Pete Halsmer right behind him, and they are running nose to tail. Now that's the start-finish line. Here we go into turn 1. Real fast and real dangerous.
Good spot for overtaking too, but a terrible spot to be caught up in traffic is if you're backed up behind. Oh, and here we have the well, no, we don't have the 68 car, but that spot there, the turn 1 and turn 2, if you get stuck behind the All-American Challenge cars, could cause some trouble.
Well, there is the number 68 car, and that is Luis Mendez from Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic, one of many drivers who make this one Miami stop their one time of the year to race here in the U.S. So it looks as though his day is done, and a sad way to end it indeed.
He'd been running very quickly all weekend and finished 7th at West Palm Beach earlier.
Qualifying and racing, as the drivers will tell you, a big difference. There's turn 8, a big dip there, and you come out flying on what is actually an up ramp onto a bridge that crosses over to Miami Beach. Then the bounce at turn 9, and you're on Biscayne Boulevard, where the Orange Bowl Parade takes place, and many, many other festivities down here in Miami. And there are the leaders.
Now we see Pete Halsma hounding Steve Miller quite seriously. The big thing about the Mazdas that may give them a little advantage is they weigh a little less than the Nissans do, and in the long run they could have better tire wear than the Nissans are going to do, especially with Halsma putting on that kind of pressure. But at the same time that he's putting the pressure on Millen, he has to be careful in his mirrors, as we see Jeremy Dale and, of course, Price Cobb right there, too.
They just go past the area where Luis Mendez is stalled after his accident, and there was a small fire on the left side of the car out of our camera range, but it looks as though things are under control, and they are working on... No, we're told that it is still going on down there, so we'll keep you posted. There are several workers in place, and the fire extinguishers are on duty.
Luis Mendez, of course, was the 1980 GTO champion.
Meanwhile, there is our 5th place car. That is the number 6 of Dorsey Schrader, as he is trying to track down the number 63 of Price Cobb.
Dorsey Schrader yesterday was really letting it hang out in qualifying. We spoke to him this morning before the race, and he has said that to repeat what he was doing in qualifying for a whole hour would just be impossible to do. He was having to really push the car to get some speed out of it, because like we said earlier, it is a brand new car. They've only did 6 laps testing at Barroso. They did a little bit in the wind tunnel up in Michigan, and here they are now. They've only run the 2 practice sessions where we saw Dorsey get it slightly wrong and put it backwards into the concrete wall, which did not, of course, give him any more time in the practice session.
One of the things I wanted to bring up early was we talked to just about everybody, and they all admitted the same thing. With the history of this event, where someone always gets collected, as we are now approaching lap traffic, and this is where it could start, there usually is at least one extended yellow. In fact, last year's race, they had about 15 minutes of race action, and then all of a sudden they finished under the yellow as Bob Leitzinger's GTU went headlong into a concrete barrier, and he actually split the barrier. That's 8,000 pounds of concrete. But so they're all pressing. They're going for the front. But look at this. The Ford Mustangs in the background. They're dueling with each other. It looks as though Dorsey Schrader may be having a problem, and teammate Robbie Gordon may be closing.
Well, Robbie Gordon's been having problems all weekend. He had a coil wire caught up in the first practice, in the second practice too. He didn't do very well in qualifying, only getting 9th spot. Wasn't very happy with the car, and they've been having turbo problems all weekend. But now we see he's obviously got things under control, and is beginning to put a bit of a threat on Dorsey Schrader. These two get on real well, and they love racing with each other. Dorsey says that when they went practicing and testing at Barroso, that Robbie Gordon's testing came to an end the moment he dropped the clutch in the pit lane. He said the guy is just incredible to watch and to work with.
There's the number 76 in 3rd place, Jeremy Dale, right behind him, Price Cobb, and then the 2 Mustangs as the battle for the lead is tightened up. Now, Dale has managed to reel in the 2 front runners, and you have to wonder, lap traffic obviously playing a key part in all this.
They've all stuck together pretty well through that first bout, but from this point on, it's going to be traffic until the end of the race. So it's these streets of Miami, too. Not a great deal of places to overtake. Turn 4, probably the best place. Also, as they come into turn 1, we mentioned earlier, and then with the power coming, if you've got to get it right, coming out of turn 9 onto Biscayne Boulevard, and you've got a pretty long stretch there.
That was turn 4. Now you're coming into turn 5. There's our leader, and there is 2nd place, Pete Halsmer, and they go flying by with the sparks in the distance. Turn 6. Well, I tell you, turn 6 can really mess you up, though, if you aren't set up properly. Here's more lap traffic. I'll tell you what, this looks more like one of the Firehawk races where they have 50, 60 cars out here at a time, which is a showroom stock endurance series. But with 35 total vehicles, it has gotten very busy for all these drivers.
We started with 35. Unfortunately, we've already Don Knowles and John Ferguson, the GTU cars, running into problems already, as has Mandy Gonzalez, who was the quickest privateer so far in the GTOs this weekend. Now we see Jeremy Dale getting right. Oh, and there is Price Cobb right up underneath the wing of Jeremy Dale, takes off the whole back section of his car, and that, of course, is going to affect the handling of the Jeremy Dale Nissan.
So it looks as though he gets short braking from Jeremy Dale as he had lap traffic. The safety car is standing by. We'll let you know. And another vehicle into the barrier.
I believe that's the 36 car being driven by Manuel Villa. No, that's the 31, Gene Felton in the GTU class.
Well, there is what's left of Jeremy Dale's tail section on the Nissan. Stay with us. We'll be back with more at the Exxon Supreme Miami event for GTO, GTU, and All-America Challenge cars. Let's take a look at what happened again as everybody had to get on the brakes hard, and unfortunately for Jeremy Dale, Price Cobb was unable to stop, literally just hitting him in the right spot to pop off the rear section. And that was all it took. He has now pitted, and we are just about ready to go back to green racing as the cars are lined up behind the pace car.
And in the rest of that melee, Robbie Gordon managed to get past Dorsey Schrader too, so he's now moved himself up into a 4th spot.
There's your top 5. Steve Millen, Pete Halsmer, Price Cobb, Robbie Gordon, and Dorsey Schrader. And then in GTU, the front-running car of David Loring. He was our pole sitter, still out in front. John Finger listed in 2nd, Bob Leitzinger 3rd, Rob Wilson, and Henry Taleb. Cars still working their way around the track, trying to get ready for the race action to resume. While we've got a chance, let's give you an idea of what these new Roush Mustangs are all about. It has been fun to watch. Behind me is a huge tent surrounding the 2 brand new Roush Mustangs. You think airport security is tight? You ought to be around this team this weekend as they're debuting these new cars. But we've got all the clearances. We've got all the checks passed. In fact, we're going to take you inside now for the first look inside the brand new Mustangs. The first thing you notice is the 2.5-liter, 4-cylinder, single-turbo, computer-controlled power plant. 700 horsepower on a 2,600-pound chassis. The other things that have really made this car different, the fuel cell has been moved from behind the rear wheels to in front of them. It's a great safety feature as well as helping balance the car out. The biggest change noticeable to the spectator will be the wing. The wing section is actually constructed almost similar to a GTP wing. It conforms to GTO rules because air does pass underneath the wing section. The dash panel also and the cockpit control center is another key area, and Dorsey Schrader explained for us.
Instead of the gauges you would normally see, we now have a television monitor. As you can see, Ford Electronics. At the top, a tachometer. Down at the bottom, ECT, that's engine cooling temp. And with this button on the steering wheel, I can monitor right through. Here's oil temperature, fuel pressure, oil pressure, gallons for fuel economy, voltage in the battery, P1, we haven't figured out what that is yet, is plenum temperature here for the turbocharger, and exhaust cooling temperature, engine cooling. We're back to oil temperature again. As a driver, what this enables me to do is pay attention to the traffic. I don't have to look at gauges anymore. If anything goes wrong with this, a red light comes on the dash and it says, "Hey dummy, you got a problem."
Well, here is the action, and we can tell you now that Dorsey Schrader, as we're looking at the front-running car of our number 75, and you'll see just how far back it is from Steve Millen to 5th place. Dorsey Schrader, he is in front, or I should say behind his teammate Robbie Gordon. And it looks as though I was looking at the left front corner, and it looks as though he might be having something wrong with suspension because they're getting a lot of spark. See that? And he wasn't having that early in the race. And oh, we've had a spin into turn 1. That is Joe Pezza in the Porsche 911. He is back underway, but you can see he has done some serious damage to the rear section.
He is also in that crash. I don't know if he caught it, but he's brought out some of the tire wall, and we may see a yellow flag at that area while they move the tires back up against the wall because they're kind of hanging out right on the exit of the corner.
Even worse than that, we are going to go full course yellow again. So just as we get back to action, Pezza brings out a full course yellow because they are going to have to move all those tires. The safety car is ready to move out onto the course, and everybody bunching up behind the leaders again as we have both.
Well, now we see right there, we see Pete Halsman coming up alongside Steve Miller, and obviously he hadn't got the idea of the yellow flag yet. Now he knows, and he's going to back off and sit behind. And this, of course, will bunch them all up again before we go green, and it shouldn't take long to get that problem solved. It's just a matter of pulling the tires back up against the wall.
So there you can see it's the Nissan out front, then followed by Pete Halsmer in his Mazda, Price Cobb in 3rd, then the 2 Roush Mustangs, Robbie Gordon, followed by Dorsey Schrader.
I'm impressed to see how well Robbie Gordon's been going because he did no time in practice. It's a brand new car. They had very little testing before they even brought the car here. He qualified 9th, and now here he is.
We'll be back with more right after this. Today's Exxon Supreme Series event is brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. Marty Reid and Guy Hobbs back with you, and that's our eye in the sky as we have gone green again, provided by the CRM Group of Melbourne, Florida. Thank you, guys. A great view of what happens down below, and the action fast and furious. We're into turn 11, and there you see that's the front leading car of the number 75 Nissan of Steve Millen in hot pursuit, Pete Halsmer. That's the way it has been since the get-go. And as we are back green, Price Cobb running in third in another Mazda, and then the two Roush Mustangs of Robbie Gordon and Dorsey Schrader taking up fourth and fifth.
When you say you've gone green, Marty, is that in reference to your color and jealousy of not being out there running with these guys?
These guys are too good for both of us.
Steve Millen proving once again how powerful that Nissan is in holding off Pete Halsmer. And this has really played into the hands of the heavier cars. The Mazdas were hoping that they would be able to outrun the other cars with the tire wear. But obviously the Nissans have had some things fall in their favor, and they are still managing to go as quick as they were at the beginning.
There are the front runners in GTU. Now, not the 00. That is a lap vehicle. That's the full-time Dodge of Don Knowles. We expected him to be one of the contenders, but both those Dodges have had problems and have been lapped. The real leaders are the two Nissans right behind him, the 95 of Bob Leitzinger, the 96 of Dave Loring. And Leitzinger, if you were with us last year here at Miami, crashed hard into the concrete barrier, 8,000 pounds of concrete. He cracked it, and it literally brought the race to a yellow flag conclusion of about 40-plus minutes in length. So, and he's having a tough time getting around the Dodge because he doesn't want to go down another lap.
This year already, of course, Bob Leitzinger having won the Sebring 12 Hours for the second year in a row. So now he's proving that they can do it on the street events as well as the enduro events.
You know, it was amazing after that tremendous hit last year. Leitzinger was not more seriously injured. As you see the statistics on Don Knowles there, Leitzinger had severe hand injuries, though. He said it was very, very difficult for the remainder of the campaign last year to grip the steering wheel and actually turn the vehicle, but he did finish the season.
This circuit, too, is a pretty physical circuit. A lot of gear changing going on, and we're doing it in very hot temperatures, along with pretty sticky humidity, so it doesn't make things any easier. Up to about 140, 150 degrees inside the car.
Oh, as you can see, Leitzinger having all kinds of trouble trying to get around Don Knowles. Knowles does not want to go another lap down, and he's going to fight it off as long as he can. Now, this may be the move. Leitzinger looks can't do it.
Don Knowles, of course, typically the gentleman of racing, but doesn't seem to want to move over and go another lap down.
Hey, this is manufacturer time, buddy. They are fighting for points, and when you look at it in GTU, the Dodges need to pick up all they can. They are currently running in fourth place in the points.
And in the meantime, behind the two Nissans, we see John Finger in the 33 closing the gap up on the 96 of David Loring. So Don Knowles is really playing into the hands of John Finger at the moment, who would like to put his Mazda past the two Nissans to take the class victory.
Take a look at the right rear on Bob Leitzinger's car. It looks like there might be see something hanging out there? It looks like he got tagged a little bit.
Little fiberglass hanging off the back there, and I don't think he's going to worry about that too much.
Yeah, there it is. It doesn't look to be anything serious.
Shouldn't affect the car, and obviously he hasn't even sort of thought about it.
So the battle continues in GTU. Meanwhile, this is the action up front. Nothing has changed. It is still the Nissan of Steve Millen trying to hold off the hard-charging Mazda of Pete Halsmer.
Price Cobb has not been able to do anything about that gap between himself and his teammate Pete Halsmer either. Doesn't seem to be able to gain anything and doesn't seem to be losing anything.
You know, you talked about the weight differential and how it would affect the tires. To give you an idea, in Steve Millen's Nissan, he has to carry 2,700 pounds, but in the Mazda, they get the weight break because they run the four-rotor engine at 2,300 pounds. So 400 pounds difference, and in a quick sprint race like this, that can play a lot on tire wear.
And then, of course, the Mustangs are heavier than that, too. And they, of course, changed their design and everything of the car. Now we have the fuel cell in front of the axle, right behind the driver, and that has helped the handling a lot, according to Dorsey Schrader and Robbie Gordon. Before, of course, as the fuel went down, you got a lighter load and tire wear, so you had much less grip at the back of the car. But now you don't have that same loose end at the back, and they're finding it handling much better.
Well, you can see the Mustangs are closing in on third place. That is Robbie Gordon right on the tail of Price Cobb. And talking about weight, if you really want to know, it's 2,600 pounds for the Mustang, 2,300 for the Mazda. So a little bit difference there. Actually, the heaviest car in that group is the Nissan of Steve Millen, and he is still out front. Now he's running on Toyo tires, and there, we've got trouble. It looks as though the number 49, Clint Welding from Horseheads, New York, that is an All-American Challenge car. He has found the wall. Looks as though the safety workers on hand, yes, his day is definitely done. The wheel is coming off, so looks as though we may possibly get another caution flag. There are our leaders: Steve Millen, Pete Halsman, Price Cobb, Robbie Gordon, and Dorsey Schrader. Stay with us. More in a moment. Marty Reed, Guy Hobbs with you back at the Exxon Supreme GTO AAC race in Miami, Florida. And this is the battle for the lead. The Steve Millen Nissan in front of the two Mazdas. And boy, lots and lots of traffic.
Certainly a very tight race at the moment, as you can see, and they are right up against each other. And the traffic we talked about earlier could well become a factor in this race, and as they weave their way through right now.
They go flying by our speed shot. This is turn number 10. They'll have one more to go, and they are coming up on lap traffic as they'll be heading into turn number 11. This is the last turn before they come down through the start-finish area, and they'll be heading back through for another time around, and things are really getting tight. Look at this. We're going to have three abreast going down. Look out what's going to go. Look at this. It's the Mazda of Pete Halsmer taking the lead, moving right between cars and getting around Steve Millen, and he holds on to take the lead. And there, Robbie Gordon is a big winner also. He's moved all the way up to third.
Halsmer going around the outside there of two, and like you say, Robbie Gordon came out good on that one too, to move up to third spot. Robbie Gordon right behind Steve Millen now too. Maybe he can make a move on the inside there.
Look at how quickly, though. Look at the lead. The number 62 of Pete Halsmer is opening up once he gets past Steve Millen. Millen looks like he may be slipping back a little bit. I'm wondering if something happened. Remember, before the race started, they had a problem with the turbo right at the end of qualifying. Put a new one on. Maybe this one's starting to act up. I don't know.
They only had the one lap to try out the new turbo. Steve Millen reported it was fine, but maybe there is some kind of problem right now, because he does seem to be slowing down just a little. And in the event of that, holding up the other three guys who are now letting Halsmer get away from them.
Well, that is Biscayne Boulevard again. This is turn number 10, one of the more treacherous turns on the course. They'll head up again to turn 11, where all that action happened just a lap ago. Again, more lap traffic in front, but this time Steve Millen takes advantage, gets a little bit of space between he and third place Robbie Gordon. Gordon trying to get around quickly.
And being held up too there by the 03 car of Albert Ruiz from Fort Lauderdale. He will be very happy with that.
Yeah, you can see exactly. Look at the margin now that Halsmer's been able to open up. Now, look at Robbie getting it sideways, trying to reel him back in.
There we see Joe Pezza being lapped again by the Mustang, and then by the Price Cobb 63, and then Dorsey Schrader in the second 6 Mustang.
Now, Pezza is running in GTU in the Porsche 911. There is Price Cobb, the 36-year-old Texan. He is running in third. There is the margin now, as you can see. And, boy, Robbie Gordon has reeled in Steve Millen. He's all over his bumper again.
It looks like they may have made up a little bit of time. Oh, here comes the move on the inside. Very well done, nicely executed. Little sideways on the exit of the turn.
Millen trying to take it back as they head down for turn number 9. Will he be able to? No. Robbie Gordon has closed the door, and boy, he's opened up about a 3-car length lead. And look now, Millen in trouble of losing third place.
Well, of course, the big problem with a situation like that is not only you've got to watch the people, you've got to watch people behind you. You're concentrating so much on gaining on the other guy again, but you've got to keep your eyes on your mirrors.
More lap traffic. That's Robbie Gordon in second place, going around some of the American Challenge cars. Behind him, the battle for third place is heating up. between the 75 Nissan of Steve Millen, who was our pole sitter. There is Price Cobb in the 63 Mazda, and Dorsey Schrader right behind them.
Well, Price Cobb with the inside line as they go through second turn, and he's got past Steve Millen. Dorsey Schrader right alongside him too now.
Millen got hung out in the turn and had nowhere to go as he's trying to come back.
Now,
and
nor does Price Cobb on that corner, and Millen able to get the position right back again.
Some great racing action here at the Miami Grand Prix in the Exxon Supreme Series. Hope you are enjoying it. Stay with us because it doesn't look like it is over yet. The spark still flying off that left front corner of Dorsey Schrader's brand new Ford Mustang. That's a 4-cylinder single turbo. And again, look at this action. The 3 cars fighting for third place. They split around Rob Wilson, and look out! Price Cobb gets into Wilson, and Dorsey Schrader goes up high, but they both keep running, but Wilson is stopped in turn 8. Oh, and the survivors continue, and it looks as though that is the 75 of Steve Millen, and he now finds himself in third place with a comfortable margin in front of Price Cobb and Dorsey Schrader. They're battling it out for fourth in the meantime, and we'll keep you posted on what happens with the number 37 of Rob Wilson to see if he can get restarted. Now, Millen's job, Guy, has got to be to try and reel in Robbie Gordon if he can still do it. I'm wondering if that turbo is causing him problems.
I don't know. It looked like a little earlier as though he was having some kind of mechanical problem as he was slowing up, but now he's got clean sailing ahead of him. Obviously he was not involved in the Wilson accident. That all happened behind him. There we see Rob Wilson sitting in the middle of the field.
Motor's refired. Motor is refired, and last year's Barbershop champion is nursing it back underway. And let's go back to what really happened. Take us through it, Guy.
Well, it looks like Millen comes through cleanly on the inside. Wilson goes to follow him through, gets too close, backs off, which causes Price Cobb to run into the back of him, punt him around, and then Dorsey Schrader is able to go through on the inside.
There's the battle now for fourth place between Price Cobb and, traffic, that's Clay Young in the American Challenge car, the number 11 that gets right in front, and unable to get out around him smoothly without making a defensive maneuver was Dorsey Schrader. Now, Schrader in the Mustang, and the number 63 Mazda is Price Cobb, and look out, more traffic.
Price Cobb on the inside. They just get together there. The front left panel of Dorsey Schrader clipping the right rear of Price Cobb.
And Frank Herchick from Menor, Ohio was in the 45 American Challenge car, which set up the perfect opportunity for Price Cobb. He now takes over the position from Dorsey Schrader.
And these two now have the problem of making up the gap that they lost due to that incident with Wilson a little earlier.
Well, stay with us. We're going to be back with more action here on the Exxon Supreme Series. Pete Halsmer is your leader. Robbie Gordon is second. Steve Millen is third. Ships sail off into the sunset in Miami.
Gently into the ocean.
Those folks don't know what they're missing. We've got a great race here at the Exxon Supreme Series, GTO, GTU, and All-American Challenge here at the Miami Grand Prix. And there is your leader, Pete Halsmer. And right behind him, the Whistler Mustang, Robbie Gordon. And what an impressive performance the 22-year-old from Orange, California has put on.
He's really got the bit between his teeth right now. We're starting to see the Robbie Gordon shuffle. This is where it's hanging out sideways around every corner. He's taking a different line, and he's just got his foot flat in it, and he's just having a great time at it. He's closed that gap between himself and Pete Halsmer in just a few laps to now it's not even a second, I shouldn't imagine.
He just about blew off our speed shot camera right there. Did you see how close he came to it? He is really coming down, charging, and you can see the margin is now down to probably less than a second.
And I think he has time to execute this. He's going to reel him in and probably set him up, just put it sideways, put his foot flat, get his hands a little crossed.
The aerial photos, again, courtesy from the CRM group. We thank them for the great shots, and they are beautiful here. There are the leaders: Pete Halsmer, Robbie Gordon, Steve Millen, Price Cobb, Dorsey Schrader. That is your top five, and things are really tight for the lead. Now, they're coming up on the GTU leader. That is David Loring in the 96 Nissan. And Pete Halsmer trying to get around him. And you can see he won back at West Palm Beach. His teammate Price Cobb finished second. And they were literally nose to tail. Making a last second pass was Halsmer for the lead. Whoa! And he almost gets collected by a back marker there.
And the corner before that, we saw Gordon getting it sideways, and now he's right up there underneath the rear wing of Pete Halsmer.
Turn 9. This has been real desperate for the Mazdas. They say they really get airborne right there on that bump, and it really pitches them towards the outside, and they feel like they've got too much understeer, and this may be where Robbie Gordon, and the car gets very wide as the Mazda stretches it out about 12 feet across. He will not let Robbie Gordon on that inside line.
That's a tight exit to that corner too, with that big bank of tyres there. And now we see Robbie Gordon with the inside line coming down to 11. He's in the pit lane. He's back out onto the main circuit.
He just couldn't get through. He's collected one of the pylons, and he's going to be dragging that around for a little bit. It looks like it has gone. This could be real trouble. It's worked its way into the air duct, which cools the brakes.
That could hurt. And as he goes by there, you see on the side of his car where the number 9 is, big black tire mark, and that's where he's had it coming together a little earlier with someone else.
You can see the cone. Take a look at this now. He is trying to come quickly on the inside. He realizes he's running out of room and collects the little pylons, and the one works its way right into the air duct. Now, what's the odds of that being able to happen? I don't know, but I guarantee you that that left front brake is going to really heat up.
I think you'll find he's got him pretty hot anyway. And Robbie Gordon's just going to enjoy that even more. It's going to make his ride even more exciting. It's just as well, though, that pit wall there is cones instead of an actual wall.
Well, let's remind you, this is a 1-hour sprint race. If you pit, you lose. So he's going to have to tough it out. And you can see that Halsmer has been able to open up the margin. You know, this race, as we've seen so far, has a great deal of action all the way from start to finish. Here's a look back at 1987. The Miami Grand Prix in 1987 was typical of this event. The beautiful skyline, the warm temperatures led several drivers to forget about those hard concrete walls lining this 1.9-mile circuit. Over 30 cars took the green flag, and the crowded field would claim several victims early. Steve Millen, then driving for Dan Gurney's Toyota team, crashed hard into the tires. Scott Pruitt was unable to avoid Millen T-boning the Toyota. In replay, you can see Millen has no chance to save it. He said afterwards simply, "The tires were not up to temperature, and I went into turn 1 too hot," and Pruitt had nowhere to go. Bob Earl in the Pontiac Fiero and Jack Baldwin's Chevy Camaro took over the top 2 spots and made it a classic showdown. Earl's lighter 6-cylinder Fiero against Baldwin's 8-cylinder muscle pounder. And on a tight course like Miami, the torque of Earl's Fiero was enough to hold off the determined Baldwin. And just when Baldwin was ready to make his last push for the lead, the 1987 GTU leader, Tom Kendall, got swept up into the concrete with 2 other cars. The Fiero and the Chevy made it through, and the hard-fought duel between Earl and Baldwin would end under the yellow flag, with Bob Earl claiming Miami's top prize. Well, we have less than 5 laps to go here in Miami, and hopefully we will not be under yellow. It is a showdown between Pete Halsmer and Robbie Gordon. Dorsey Schrader in 3rd, Price Cobb in 4th, Jeremy Dale in 5th. Stay with us. Marty Reed and Guy Hobbs with you at the Exxon Supreme Series here in Miami. And there is your leader from up above. That is the number 62 Mazda of Pete Halsmer. He won back at West Palm Beach. The man right behind him is the number 9 Roush Mustang of Robbie Gordon. He won the 2 endurance races with a little bit of help, but he won at both Daytona and Sebring. And he is still carrying that cone around in that left front air dam, the air duct that goes to the brake, and I think that is the reason he is starting to fall back.
Robbie Gordon, of course, leading the championship right now. Pete Halsmer 2nd in that championship, so this is going to invert those as far as the results are concerned here today.
Well, Robbie Gordon has 63 points coming into today's action. Pete Halsmer has 49. So there you can see Robbie Gordon trying to reel in Pete Halsmer once again. Which one is going to be victorious here in round number 4?
If he's going to do it, it's going to have to be this lap, I believe. We're down to about 2 minutes left in this 1-hour timed event. So it's all or nothing on this lap. And traffic right there will help.
Well, I'll tell you, Pete Halsmer not wasting any time. He knows that if he slows down for a minute, Robbie Gordon is going to close the gap, and the former off-road champion will do anything he has to slide that car sideways and make the pass stick. The number 6, that's Dorsey Schrader. He is slowing, so he has dropped back and is having trouble. You can see that some of the other cars that he was passed are now coming up and trying to pass him in return.
That's Joe Pezza, who we saw take a little spin earlier at turn 1 of backing into the tyre wall. Joe Pezza formerly used to run in the Loop Clutch Challenge in the Paul Tosin prepared cars.
And we are told now from IMSA that there are 2 laps remaining. So the showdown between the Mazda and the Roush Mustang of Robbie Gordon coming to a close. As you can see the margin there, they are. You know, we talked to both Dorsey and Robbie before the race, and they said with all the shakedown nuances that they were experiencing, they would be happy with anything like 5th, maybe 4th. Well, here they are running in 2nd place with Robbie cars. Now, there is the leader in GTU. That is the Leitzinger Nissan with David Loring at the helm. He was our pole sitter in that category, and he is running right in front of, I think that's the number 76 of Jeremy Dale.
David Loring, of course, the defending champion here at Miami. He won here last year. Jeremy Dale, who we just saw, had a terrible start, went into the pits after the rear tail work of the car came off. He's managed to work his way all the way back up to 5th in the GTO class.
And we are now told that that man right there, Pete Halsmer, is on his last lap. All he has to do is hold off the hard-charging Robbie Gordon for about 6 more turns, and he'll probably take home his 2nd win of the season. And I'm sure he is quite aware of what the situation is. Don't slow down now. You can see Robbie, you can hear it, the turbo sort of kicking there again, and also getting a little sideways.
That's the exit of turn 6 there. So now they're working their way around the left-hand of turn 7, a big sweeper. Very important turn 8 to set up for Biscayne Boulevard. And then we've got to watch out for the big bump at 9.
Let's listen right here on turn 9. We'll just listen for the turbo in the number 9 car. Didn't hear it that time, but a couple corners earlier, that was what they were talking about, that it seemed to just lag and it would sputter and it would not give them the horsepower that they would need. Now, we're just 1 turn away from going to the checkered flag for Pete Halsmer here at the Exxon Supreme round number 4 in Miami. That is lap traffic in front of him. The Mazda, and he does make contact.
Robbie Gordon completely sideways around the exit of turn 11.
Oh, and the Mazda still has enough to hold on to take the checkered flag. And congratulations to Pete Halsmer, who fends off Robbie Gordon to win round number 4 here at the Miami Grand Prix. Whew, that's some exciting racing, as we have just seen another stellar performance. And here's Robbie pulling up alongside, and they
friendly wave.
Yes, these two have gone together a few times. Remember back in Del Mar where Robbie held off Pete, and he's returned the favor. Now here is our GTU champion. David Loring will bring the Nissan home in 1st place, well ahead of his teammate Bob Leitzinger. So our winner for the 2nd year in a row in GTU, David Loring.
He'll be very happy with that, because the 2 of them paired up to win the Sebring event, so they're having a good start. 2 wins out of the 4 races so far this year.
Certainly doesn't hurt the Manufacturers' Championship battle for Nissan either. So David Loring and Pete Halsmer will be making their way to victory lane. And so will we here at the Miami Grand Prix. Stay with us. We'll be back to talk to our winners here at the Miami Grand Prix right after this. Today's Speed World event has been brought to you by Exxon Gasolines. Just turn the key. By Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Audi. Whatever the road, Audi lets you take control. Let's take a look at the final results now in today's GTO competition. Pete Halsmer, of course, comes home in 1st place, followed by Robbie Gordon. Price Cobb in 3rd, and Jeremy Dale rallies to come in 4th place after that early encounter with Price. And then Dorsey Schrader rounds out our top 5. Guy Hobbs has made his way down to victory lane. Let's go to our winner with Guy Hobbs.
Peter Halsmer, you put on one hell of a move to get the lead in the 1st place. That was pretty impressive.
Well, I was starting to see it was going to be that kind of thing, because Steve was running awful good, and I had to try and take advantage of a jam up in traffic or something like that. That's all I could really do. I was able to eke out just a little bit of a lead, but that's tight competition, boy.
And Robbie Gordon really put the pressure on you there with about 5-6 laps to go. Could you feel it?
Yeah, I actually felt it pretty hard several times.
Congratulations, Peter Halsmer, the winner of the app.
I'm really pleased for Monza. They deserve this one.
Well, congratulations not only to Pete, but to Jim Downing and all the Mazda people. Now in GTU, here's your top 5. David Loring, Bob Leitzinger, Henry Taleb, Eduardo Pellerano, and Joe Pezza. That's the top 5 there. And again, Guy Hobbs has made his way over to our GTU winner. Let's go to him with David Loring.
David Loring, you've got to feel pretty happy repeating here at Miami.
Yeah, it's been a real good season so far. We won at Sebring. We won at Sebring last year. We won here at Miami. Won here at Miami last year. I had a little more work this year. We had to do the whole race. Last year it was mostly under caution. My boss did a wonderful job. Bob actually led for a while. They got by me on one of the big accidents here. But the car worked great. Our Toyo tires were just fantastic. And I can't say enough for the Nissan and the crew.
At one point there, when you guys were all caught up behind Don Knowles, you were running 1, 2, 3 with John Finger right behind you guys. A lot of pressure then?
Not so much a lot of pressure, but I do need to thank the Dodge team because Emery called in and asked Don to move over and let us by. Don was a lap down, and they did a real good job, and that's what we like to see.
Congratulations, David Loring.
Thank you very much.
And a nice touch of sportsmanship on the top part of the Dodge team. And here in the All-American Challenge, Phil Curran, a Gainesville native, wins in his home state. Kenny Irwin in second place, Clay Young in third, Albert Ruiz and Ken Buff round out the top 5. Stay with us because coming up next is Saturday Night Thunder and their live